Welcome to Big Impact Louisiana, where we spotlight bold ideas and people driving them forward. I'm your host, and today's guest is a internationally respected technologist, author, and innovator who's working at the cutting edge of ethical AI. Myra Roldan, the founder of the CEO and CEO of UnDesto AI.
Good
Myra,
job.
thank you so much for joining us today on Big Impact Louisiana. I first had the chance to meet you when I was emceeing a Black Tech NOLA event at Loyola University. And I have to say that your presentation is actually what helped shift my thinking around how I personally view AI. So I truly do thank you for giving such a refreshing way of how you actually your thought process around AI. That was really helpful. Also, I would like to say that she's also the author of the Designing for People, a guide to human-centered learning design. And she's here to just talk with us and explore how nonprofits can enter the world of artificial intelligence in thoughtful, ethical, and impactful ways. So, welcome to the show. So for some folks who
Thank
may not
you.
know your story, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you into technology and ultimately founding your company?
Yeah. My career has not been a straight and narrow path.
Mhm.
So I was raised in Puerto Rico. I moved to the States when I was 18 and I had a 4-month-old baby. And I needed to put a roof over our heads. So I got my first job at U-Haul, um, mounting hitches and renting trucks. And I went to nursing school because it was an 18-month program. Uh, did that. And then my goal had been to always be an engineer. I started programming when I was 13. And I didn't know like computer engineering as like a career, but I enjoyed it. I used to enjoy working on the small compact pet that I had access to. And writing programs. And it felt like magic because my family didn't know what I was doing, right? They didn't had no clue,
Right.
like, you know. Um, so I moved to the States and I got the nursing job, and then I started going to school in the evenings for my computer science degree. And it took me 10 years to get it, right? But I finished it. And during that time, when I was finishing my degree, nursing engineering was becoming a thing. They were trying to make it a thing. It was like
Hmm.
nurses with a computer science background.
Hmm.
It was like the universe had put me in the
Right.
right spot at the right time, right? And they were like, "Oh, Myra's finishing her degree. Let's throw this in her path."
Right.
Um, and so I was able to easily transition into tech from nursing because of that. Um, I paid my dues. I through wire, climbed into cubby holes with rats and, set up networks and being the smallest on a team and a female, smallest in height, right? A little bit more agile and able to get into tight spaces. Um, I always got stuck doing the crawl spaces when we were throwing new network cables down.
Hmm.
Then I just got some really good opportunities. I had a lot of people that supported me along the way, a lot of great men that supported me along the way, because it is a male-driven
Right.
industry. Um, and I was given opportunities that I did not shy away from, or, I was scared, right? But I was like, I'm gonna do it, right? Whether they thought I could do it, so they can't be wrong, right? So I went on to do some great things. I managed the payment and adjudication systems in New York City across the 5 boroughs. And that's like the payment system where you pay your parking tickets and your court
Hmm.
fines. And that require like a 99% uptime, which is usual for big corporations like that. The cities are corporations that are generating tons of money. The system generated like $1 million a
Wow.
minute. And that's why they wanted the 99% uptime. And I was the only female on an all-male team. Um, and they tested me, like the team tested me. I remember my first day, I never forget it. I walked in and they were surprised that I was a female. and the leader of the pack, I was coming in as the leader, but the leader of the pack looked at me and was like, "Oh, you could sit at a desk over there and read magazines and do your nails, while you're here, like
Right.
we got it under control." It's like, "Oh, really? That's not happening." So like, thank you, for your consideration. And I was soon able to like, prove to them that I was worthy of their respect. And I think it just having thick skin, right? I wasn't afraid to take on opportunities. I worked at Amazon for 7 years, where I worked in machine learning and artificial intelligence and cloud computing. And they had recruited me from a conference where I was speaking. They saw me speaking on machine learning and artificial intelligence, right? And
Mm,
they recruited me, and I divorced them last year. And now I'm on my own, right? I started UnDesto actually 2.5 years ago. Just registered it. I was doing market research because my
mhm.
goal was always to retire at 55. Um, and you can't do that with a corporate job, not with a job like, a big job like Amazon, where the demands are insane.
Right.
So yeah, so that's kind of how I got to where I am today.
Okay. Thank you so much. So you've been working as, of course, you've worked across all type of industries.
Hmm.
From your experiences so far, like what unique challenges or opportunities have you seen based off of your own experiences for in the nonprofit space?
Yeah, I think nonprofit right now, there is some opportunity to help them innovate.
Hmm.
So a lot of times with nonprofits, like there's a lot of paperwork that they have to do. There's a lot of like processes
Right.
that are always documented and are always, laid out like for someone for succession planning and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Succession planning for the next person coming in. So like if there's someone that leaves a role and someone else that comes in, like it's not an easy trajectory. And a lot of nonprofits rely on volunteers also,
Right.
which if you are someone that's trying to build your portfolio, that is like the perfect place to build your portfolios with a nonprofit by offering your services, even if you're not
Hmm.
getting paid. Um, but the opportunities with nonprofits are big because they're constantly applying for grants, they're constantly doing community outreach, they're constantly looking for ways to improve the community. And being able to deliver AI literacy through a nonprofit or help them create an automation to help them with their proposal writing, or help them with the process implementation. There's just a lot of opportunity in that
I
space.
agree. Yeah, I think it's definitely opportunity for us, especially those organizations with limited resources to be able to maximize the people in the workplace that they have, as well as
Mhm.
getting a lot more things done for them. So as you know, a lot of nonprofits are just starting to think about AI and what does that mean and everything. Is there anywhere that you and your suggestion that you would suggest for them to just begin in their thinking processes?
Yeah, I would say for nonprofits, before you jump into an AI solution, before you say like ChatGPT is the answer, right? Because it's not always the answer.
Right.
Um, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
That's
Uh,
that's true.
is look at your processes, like take a
Mhm.
step back and look at your processes and try to figure out what are processes that are like some of those processes that you repeat constantly, like those repeatable tasks that are just redundant, right? Like you do it the same, it's done the same way over and over and over again, right? Can is it a case where that could potentially be automated using AI, right? Um, and if you don't have the skills, can you find someone that can, support the organization in doing that?
Mhm.
Because you have to ensure that you are securing your community data, right? So nonprofits a lot of times are dealing with community data, and
Right.
some of that might be private data, like
Mhm.
private personal data, and you are required by law to protect that data. which is why I say don't jump to like, you have access to ChatGPT on the web doesn't mean you should be using it for that purpose.
Right.
Because your data is not protected in that case. So it's about finding someone to consult with, and then making some decisions around like, you know, do we need it or are we doing it for the sake of doing it?
Hmm.
Of doing AI, right? So I think that that's where nonprofits need to start. And I think the key is to start with AI literacy
Yeah.
also to understand like, what actually is it? What's the limitations? What can you do with it? And what can't you do with it? Because it's
Hmm.
not a silver bullet.
I agree.
Yeah.
A part of that, are there any specific like red flags nonprofits should start watching out for when considering some of these tools or partners?
Yeah. I have a couple frameworks that I've developed. So we have an intelligence suite. It's
Oh.
intelligence.undesto.ai. And we have some free resources in there. There's a framework that we offer called the SIFT framework. And it is a way to it's a framework for vetting tools,
Hmm.
right?
Oh, that's
It gives
great.
you, it
Yeah.
lays out a plan for you on when you're looking at tools, what are the things you should be looking at? So you want to look at like, is the tool secure? Do they, and you can do this by looking at their documentation, sending them an email and asking them like for their security certificates, understanding where they're storing their data, um, understanding, where does the data live?
Hmm.
Are they going to use my data to train the tool? Right. And then infrastructure, which is like, where are they hosted? There are a lot of companies that are fly-by-night companies that are created using vibe coding. So vibe coding is when you use AI to create an app, which is great for like a prototype, but not great for production.
Hmm.
And so what platform are they on, right? Like are they like on an AWS? Are they on a Google Cloud? Are they on a Azure? Are they on Replit? That's a red flag, right? Are they
Hmm.
on Cursor? That's a red flag. Are they on Vercel? That's a little bit safer. So like being able to examine where it lives and where your data lives and then fit, like, does it fit your need? Does it achieve, like, what's your goal and does it help you achieve that goal? And then, trust, can you trust a tool? Right?
Okay, I'm gonna definitely have
Yeah.
to link that for because that's
Yeah.
a big one I think because where people get scared because I'm like, well, I don't know exactly where to, who I can trust and what I
Yeah.
can trust to even go forward. So that is really helpful. I'm definitely gonna
Yeah.
make sure I link that in the group.
Okay.
Um, what innovations in AI are you excited about right now and how they could be used for good in like nonprofit sector?
Um, AI innovations. There's a few, right? So I think nonprofits, in order to get the word out, sometimes the hardest thing is getting the word out about your nonprofit
Mhm.
and getting
Big.
people to like, learn about a little bit more about you. Social media is really important, but it's time consuming,
Right. Oh my gosh. Yes.
right? So there are tools that you can use to create like a quick podcast to share like what are you guys about,
Hmm.
right? And you can use it just by uploading some documents about about the nonprofit and creating a podcast about it in like seconds. Without having to get on a phone or, on a pull out your smartphones or get on a computer like this and do a Zoom, but where you can talk to the world about your nonprofit and like your goals and what are you trying to achieve. So that's really exciting. I think the other one is being able to make videos very quickly about your nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
There's some great tools out there. So for the podcasting, I would recommend Notebook LM. It's a Google product. I use it heavily because I also have a podcast and I just upload research papers and create a podcast from the research papers. Um, and it doesn't train on the data. It just uses the data that's there and it does it's called an audio overview.
Hmm.
And now it does video overviews too. And then the other tool I like for videos is Visla, Visla,
Hmm.
um, because with them also you can just take your text, put it in there, and it creates like a video for you using
Hmm.
stock footage. or images that you upload, and they're low cost tools.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's gonna that right there alone can be a game changer for a lot of nonprofits
Yeah,
right
it's a huge
there.
game changer because it's
Hmm.
a different way of getting information out, right? Where I
Hmm.
know a lot of nonprofits rely on like paper-based and
Right.
email blasts. Like now you can leverage social media to get the word out about your nonprofit
Hmm.
and get a further reach.
Thank you. Can you share a little bit more about your book, Designing for People, and how it is helping leaders build more human-centered systems? I think that's one of the things you said, and I've seen written about you that you say about human first and not hype first. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things that is important to us, especially at VLink, is making sure that things are people-centric, that we're focusing on people before the systems and creating systems that are actually centering humans. So I just would love for you to talk a little bit more about your book and how all that
Yeah.
fits into your work.
So the title of the book, the real title is The Curious Case of Chatterbot GPT. It's a
Mhm.
parable. So I wrote it in story format, and it's available on Amazon. And basically, what it talks about, it's more, instead of just telling you the theory about things, right? It walks you through like an actual scenario. I based it on like actual scenarios of things that I have encountered with different people, right? And so it follows the story of one character called Thaddeus Blandley, who decides he goes to a conference and, as with everyone, I found a new tool, right? And we need to use this new tool. It's gonna be
You
the
gotta use the
golden
new
ticket
tool.
for everything. Yeah. And he goes on to use it and ends up accidentally leaking company data because he's not aware of it, right?
Mm.
So it's a tool that's built not for people, but for,
Mhm.
for other gain. And because he doesn't know any better, right? He doesn't know how to vet it. He doesn't know. He just saw that this is a really cool tool. And so there's all these mishaps and things that go through. It's like competitors get the information and they start losing money. And so I wrote it in that really like relatable format because I don't like writing tech books for the
Right.
sake of writing tech books, right? Like I could have
Mhm.
written, um, designing systems for
Mhm.
people, and given it that title, and it could have been like really dry, because honestly, tech books are dry.
Yeah, yeah. They are.
So I wanted to create a book that anyone could read,
Hmm.
right? So the book has different exercises inside that you can go through and stop and think. Like, does it
Hmm.
apply to you? What are you doing right now? How are you thinking about your systems internally? Will your systems even work with the AIs you're looking at?
Hmm.
What's the impact to the community? Right?
Hmm.
What's the impact to your stakeholders? Those are really important questions
Right.
that even for-profits need to be asking themselves
Right.
because there have been so many lawsuits that have rolled out in just, a 2 years time
It's
that
true.
it's important for companies to really put that lens to it as far as like how do we build systems around people and people needs, right? And
Mhm.
real problems and not just build systems for the sake of monetization.
Right. Ooh. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I know. I can go all day about that topic, but I won't. I won't. What's your vision for the future of your organization, and how can other organizations connect and collaborate with you?
Yeah, so my vision for UnDesto is for us to become um a trusted advisor,
Mm.
trusted AI advisor. Um yeah, we work with big corporations, right? But we're also looking to work with medium to small companies, even some micro companies to give them the tools so they can feel confident,
Mm.
right? At least in the initial stages of being able to explore where they need to go, which is why we created some free resources and we're offering it on our intelligence suite, because I think it's really important that people get educated first
Mm-hmm.
before they start making decisions. So we're moving with an education first kind of purview on it. And I think that what our ultimate goal is to help companies generate ROI while being responsible
Mm-hmm.
and protecting their stakeholder data. And stakeholders, I'm not talking about like the boards, I'm talking
Right.
about their customers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Their employees, their users.
Mm-hmm. My final question for you is, what gives you hope about the role of technology in solving big challenges?
So I'm pushing for so I'm gonna lay this out
Mhm.
in like two or three parts. So the
Okay.
first is um my hope is that more Black and Brown communities upskill on AI and start gaining the skills they need so they can start to influence AI
Mm-hmm.
because AI was built with us without us in mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's built on data that is biased, historical data that's
Mm-hmm.
biased, right? The world is biased. We're all biased. AI has been built on historical data that's biased. And the only way for us to change the narrative is to be able to start influencing AI
Mm-hmm.
through our insights, our experiences, and working in it, right? I know that it's scary for a lot of people. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that." The number of people that tell me that, like, I can never do what you do. I'm like, well, you kind of could, right? You can, if you just, if you open yourself up to it and put fear to the side. We offer a ton of classes where we're, trying to teach on the basics and then move people up. Um, and I think the other thing is understanding that AI isn't going to replace you because we're not going to get
That's
anywhere
the big
near
one.
that right now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, our power grid could not support it. So
Yeah, that
with that,
alone.
yeah. So I need people to stop being afraid. And
Mm-hmm.
then with that comes the hope, right? That with a larger community providing a broader perspective and changing the historical narrative of the data that AI has been trained on, we can improve the way AI impacts our communities and not take a passive seat and say like, oh well, it was built by other people, it's not built for us. Well, you can change that,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think that's the narrative with everything we see going on in the world. We can change a lot of the narratives that are happening. The problem is that no one feels empowered to it, or they're not empowering themselves to do it, right? Everyone just
Mm-hmm.
throws their hands up and they're like, I can't do
Right.
anything about it, so I'm just gonna sit back and whine about it, right?
Right. Right.
Um, and whining does not fix things. So I would say now is like prime time for our communities to start upskilling in AI because believe it or not, only 1% of the world population is using AI.
Wow.
So you are not behind,
That's
right?
that's when I think that is helping. That could help a lot of people because I think they don't know where to get started. Then they go straight into, well, there's so many people. I'm not gonna be able to catch up to where they're at and using these new tools.
Yeah, I think right now you need to think about like the circles that you're in and the circles that you're listening to are the people that are have been ingrained right now or pretend to be ingrained in it and aren't really
Mhm.
experts. And everyone now wants to be an expert. Everyone now is like a pro or a coder or I've been in this
Mhm.
space for 12 years. None of them are experts, and I don't consider myself an expert, right? Because it's evolving so quickly.
Mhm.
I think you need to stop listening to the noise and deciding what is the path that you want to take and what are the steps that you're going to take to get there,
Right.
right? Um, and like people still get jobs on the, working on the internet, like, and the internet's was born in the 90s, you know what I mean?
Right.
People still get jobs, with cell phones, and
Mhm.
cell phones have been around. So it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of hype around it,
Mhm.
not a lot of skill.
Right.
There's a huge skill gap right now in especially in the US, right? Because there's a lot of
Mhm.
talkers, but not a lot of doers. So
Mhm.
become a doer and get your little slice of the pie now.
I love it. I want to thank you so much for having this conversation with us and sharing some of your work. And honestly, you're helping. I know this is going to help a lot of different organizations to understand that you don't have to be intimidated by AI and how we can still center people and can build smarter, more ethical systems and, just create change using some of these tools. So I really do appreciate you. And thank you for coming on the show this time around. I'm going to definitely post all of the links to all of these great things that you brought up in the thing, in the chat, as well as a way for them to get your book and all of your information. So thank you again for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm glad this was able to work out.
Yes, I'm so glad it did work out. Thank you.
All right, thanks.